We're gonna get set to pull this engine out. This is Jay Harrison coming to you from 3 Generation Racing. We're at our good friend Mike's from Night Owl Motorsports. He's over there building a hot rod snowblower, and we're gonna make some changes. So, you know, we've been super busy with a lot of things, and haven't really been able to get back to you on the updates with the car. So last I think we spoke was we were putting a front end in the car to free up the front end to get a little bit of weight transfer. So we got a set of these used Global West control arms, and we got the really loose Moroso front springs and Calvert shocks, 9010s, and that seemed to help out a lot, you know, especially on sticky track conditions. We took this car to Beaver Springs Raceway. Our friend Mr. Mike McCracken. It was just a fantastic facility. Can't say enough about the hospitality of the people that were running the track. And we got to speak with the owner himself. Can't wait to go back. So we ran this car in November. It is currently March. I haven't been able to get back to it. My guesstimate on how fast the car would go, I figured the car would go at 1250. Let's keep in mind that it is a fairly low horsepower small block. It's the 60 over 350. It has Z28 heads on it with a 194 intake valve. So it's not a big horsepower engine. We just wanted to see how good we could make it run. We ran this 750 mechanical secondary Holley carburetor. Probably a little bit too big for what we had, but it seemed to run really good. And this carburetor came off Pop's 66 GTO. On his car it ran at 1090, so it was a good working unit, so we decided to use it because that's what we had. We feel that we got as much as we could pretty much out of this setup. Car ended up running a 1245 best run. 1245 at 104.6. It ran a 7.81 to the 8th at 87 miles an hour. I could be off a tick here and there on a couple of times, but we think we want to make some changes. One of the changes we're going to make is that we always felt that the front of this engine was just a little bit too high, and that put our distributor cap really right against the firewall. So what we want to do now is we want to incorporate these mounts down here. That'll lower the front of the engine. And we have a set of these that go on the block, which are probably the same ones we have on there. And then we have another set that is slightly longer. So we haven't figured out which combination is going to work for us. These are for 73 to 79 Nova. They don't actually bolt in, but it's something that we can work with. You know, we cut, we chop, we weld, so you know, it's something that we could work with. That'll also bring the fan down in the tunnel. So we want to lower the front of the engine. We want to take the spacer out of the tail of the transmission, because that raises the back of the transmission. And then we want to take the spring wedges out of the rear end. That's our plan. We're looking for equal and opposite angles on the drive shaft, so we don't have an issue with the drive shaft coming out at speed. We do have a drive shaft loop in the car, but you know, we've seen some catastrophes where that loop really didn't do a whole lot. So one of the changes we're going to make is we're going to go to this. So this is our Turbo 400. It has a reverse valve body. We sent it to our friend over Charlie Transmissions, and he did it up for us. So it's a completely fresh unit. He reinstalled the trans brake. We had an issue with the trans brake when we tried to operate it. It took out the transmission for whatever reason. Can't say exactly why. So rather than screw with the valve body, we just took the transmission out, had him go over it, had him freshen it up and rebuild it. We are going to be going with a Select Performance. All right, so this is our Select Performance torque converter. This is the converter we were running previously. It really wasn't designed for the application, but it seemed to run okay because that's what we had. And we had them go through the converter and raise the stall from 4,000 to 4,200. The stall before was a little bit over 3,000. So we want to launch this car somewhere around 4,000, between 4,000 and 4,200. We also welded in a bung on the bottom of the transmission pan for transmission temperature. Then it's going to tell us, the full story there. And we're going to install this bad boy. And this is not the motor, it's another motor. This current application is it's a 400 small block. It's 30 over, that makes it 406. It's got a lot of goodies in it. And this comes directly from Pop. Pop had this laying around. I asked him what he was doing with it, and he said nothing. So I said, let's put it together and let's put it in the car. Now, I don't know exactly what the cam specs are. It's an Iskandarian 555 lift, that I know. I don't know what the duration is. I know that it makes power from about 3,500 RPM past 7,000. So we're gonna be revving this engine a little bit higher. It has brownfield aluminum heads on it, which were the heads before the airflow research. So it's a racing head. It's making about 11-to-1 compression. Not exactly sure to the T exactly what the compression specs are. We're gonna run this cast iron dual plane Z28 intake manifold for now. And it's almost even gonna act as a restrictor. We have a Super Victor intake manifold that we're gonna run at some point. But right now, this is what we have. We want to get it running. And my guesstimate is that in its current form, it probably is gonna go about an 1150 or better. I think with the right intake manifold and the right carburetor, it should probably go anywhere from an 1120 to a 1099. Probably just have to keep screwing with it. We have a high flow metal block water pump that we're going to use, and this is from what I remember as a kid, this motor ran really, really well. I don't know if I mentioned that it has a 208 intake valve, and it's a solid cam. So it's not a mechanical roller, it's a flat tap, it's solid camshaft, and it has roller rockers on it underneath these really cool valve covers. So our plan is to take the nose off the car. This way it gives us an easier chance to make some adjustments to the engine mounts. The nose, the way I have it set up, comes right off. I have the transmission cooler mounted in the grill. Literally have to just take the two transmission lines off the firewall back there, disconnect the radiator, and take the 8 bolts out of the fenders, and the nose comes right off. I have hockey pucks installed under here, so literally this should be able to get this nose off in less than a half an hour, and that'll help us with any space issues that we may have trying to figure out what our angles are. We may weld the mounts in, we may bolt them in. I haven't figured out exactly how I want to do it, but having all of this out of our way should make our lives a lot easier. So we're going to install the engine and transmission as one unit, and not having the nose in our way should make it just a way easier swing. We won't have to lift the engine as high to get it in, and we won't have to tilt it so drastically. So that's where we're at right now. I'm hoping to have this car all set up for testing within the next 3 weeks to a month. We work full time over here, so this is just our hobby, and we have to make time to sit here and work on it. As far as headers are concerned, I'm not sure if we're going to run these headers or if we're going to switch to another set. These are Hooker competition headers. Probably could use a Hooker super competition header. Has a, I believe, an 1 7/8" primary tube. So that's something we may want to think about, but it could very well be that we end up putting these headers back on. Maybe we can send them down to our friend over there and have him jet coat them for us so they look a little nicer. That VHT paint, which is very good stuff, it only lasts so long on headers. So we're gonna pull this all apart. We're gonna clean this up with some spray cans, and we're gonna pull this engine out. Right now the transmission is on the floor, so it should make it a lot easier for us. And we'll check back in with you.